Hello! I hope you're having a wonderful day. I know that I have. Right now, I am getting a little YouTube video prepared. We are going to react to an Elden Ring video, of course, because I just have Elden Ring on the brain. I can't help it. I had so much fun playing it. But this is a fun little video done by Iron Pineapple, where they tried to beat Elden Ring with a pacifist route, basically where they cannot attack. And from what I understand, I haven't watched the video yet, they use summons to do the attacking for them, which I suppose maybe counts. I don't know, I feel like if you have your summons attacking and you're buffing them, I don't know if that makes you a pacifist, if you're enabling others, like. But anyways, I hope that you're doing absolutely wonderful, and remember that you're adorable and I love you. But let's get started on the video. Boppin' music. Oh gosh. Elden Ring without attacking. Oh, this looks like it was not painful at all.
Can you do Elden Ring without attacking? At a glance, this question sounds absurd. I thought the same thing at first. But maybe it's not. This game has a mechanic called spirit summoning, which allows you to summon enemies to fight for you. With this ability, it seemed at least theoretically possible that these summons could kill each boss without me needing to do a single point of damage myself. On top of that, there's a surprising number of tools beyond just summoning I can make use of too. I had no idea if a full playthrough like this was possible, but I wanted to at least make it as far as I could. So here's my journey playing as a pacifist in Elden Ring. First, I chose the Prophet class since it's the class with the highest faith stat. Faith would be a key part of my build for the entire run because healing incantations affect nearby allies, and making frequent use of them would be essential to keeping the spirits I summon alive. I also chose the Fanged Imp Ashes as my keepsake so I'd have a solid starting option for spirit summoning. And look at this little guy. Look at his face.
Gosh.
He doesn't want to hurt anybody. He's great.
So
with that, I was in the game, died to the tutorial boss, woke up in Limgrave, and then ran over here to unlock leveling and my horse. After that, I immediately fast traveled to the Church of Ella so Ronnie could give me the spirit calling bell. I now had the ability to summon spirits, but I wanted to gain a few quick levels first. Normally, I'd run over to the big screaming dragon in Caelid and kill it with a Blaidd weapon to get a huge chunk of runes, but that wasn't an option on a pacifist run. Instead, I decided to fight this knight cavalry on the bridge nearby. I couldn't kill him myself, but gravity could.
Oh.
Enemy felled indeed.
I've never
had that
happen.
That was enough for 19 levels, which I split between Vigor and Mines. Before leaving Caelid, I wanted to get a few more easy runes by killing the bosses in Seelie. If you jump just right on this wall, you can get over the boss door and enter the arena without walking through the boss fog. This allows you to fight the boss without them fighting back. They'll just stand there and take it. So I summoned my imps and sat back to watch. Funnily enough,
we're doing a little bit of
the first time I tried this, the imps pushed one of the bosses behind the fog wall at the back of the arena, so they couldn't hit him anymore. But yeah, second attempt I got him, and a few thousand more runes. I then went back to Limgrave to prepare a bit more. Most of my time was spent riding around collecting golden seeds and sacred tears, but I also managed to defeat a couple more bosses along the way. First, check out this bear fight.
What? Go.
Yep, turns out if you mash out of this bear's grab attack, it'll fall through the floor and die. Once again, I'm not killing these guys, gravity is. Next, you can actually summon Blaidd for this fight against the Bloodhound Knight if you spoke to him first in the Mistwood Ruins. Blaidd is so strong that he can just solo this boss easily. It wasn't even necessary for me to provide any healing.
Right. There you are. Had to work for it, but it's done.
I also spoke with Rodrika to get the jellyfish ashes. I wasn't sure if I'd use them, but I wanted the potential option for later. With that, I was ready to take on the first major boss, Morgott. Naturally, I summoned Radahn to help. He might be a mage, but he apparently multi-classed into being a tank because he can take a beating. I also went with my Fanged Imps since they can inflict bleed. Bleed is extremely powerful because it does a flat percentage of damage every time it procs. On bosses, that amount is 10% of their maximum health. Next, I just had to keep Radahn and the imps alive long enough with my healing for them to kill Morgott. This is where the skill part of this run comes in. Keeping summons alive with healing is this fun little minigame where I had to make sure I was close enough for them to receive the heal, but far enough away so that I didn't get interrupted by the boss's attacks. It's this balancing act that took a bit of getting used to, but it was really rewarding when I managed to pull it off consistently. Sometimes I would keep my distance, but sometimes I would just get in there behind the boss and hope it would reach my allies. This was tough. I failed again, and again, and again, and again.
I had to
maybe if I
respect
just landed my
people
heels
for
a
his
bit better, I could do it.
to
I
try
got really close a
all
couple
of this
times,
crazy,
but I decided I needed just
stuff.
a little extra boost to push me over the edge. Maybe like the buff from the Commander Standard. The Commander Standard is a weapon that has a skill which boosts the attack and defense of nearby allies by 20% for 30 seconds.
I don't think I
And
ever
could
got
get this
that.
by defeating Commander O'Neill in the Caelid Swamp.
Oh,
Could
I
do
got
this
it
without
then.
attacking though? Absolutely. Accidents happen, you know? If I decide to hang out near some swamp geysers and Commander O'Neill just happens to follow me and get himself killed in the process, I'm just an innocent bystander.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
this worked
hilarious.
perfectly. I got the weapon with no issue. I ran back to Morgott for round 2 with the weapon buff this time. I was landing my
With the
heals,
flag!
the damage seemed good, but it was
Do you have
just
a
barely not
flag?
enough to finish the job. It was time to upgrade my imps. I took the side path around the castle and ran into Liurnia. In case you didn't know, this triggers Rodrika to go back to the round table hold, and with her there, I now had the ability to level up my summons. Could I have leveled up my imps several times and steamrolled Morgott? Yes, but that seemed like less fun, so I only upgraded them once. Okay, Morgott again, round 3.
Come
And this
on.
time, I finally got him. It really came down to the wire. Next, I ran straight to Godrick. And side note, I committed to playing as a pacifist for the entire game, not just boss fights. That meant I had to run by pretty much every enemy encounter since summoning was only an option when this symbol was on the screen, usually
That's
only
true.
around bosses. But yeah, Godrick. I summoned Nepheli for this fight, and just like Rajier, she was a huge help due to how tanky she was. I also upgraded my imps to +2 and went with them again as well. And this worked decently well. The imps were doing damage, but keeping Nepheli alive long enough was a problem. And once she was dead, the imps would just get deleted by Godrick. They're pretty fragile. I tried a
Yeah.
couple more times, but I realized the damage just wasn't high enough to kill Godrick in time. So I had a choice. Upgrade my imps again, or find a new strategy. I opted for the latter option because I thought this video would be more fun with a variety of spirits and problem solving instead of just winning through raw stats. I decided to go
That's
with the Rotten
true.
Stray summon, which you can get from the edge of the swamp in Caelid. This little guy might look weak, but he's a secret powerhouse because he can inflict Scarlet Rot after attacking something enough times. And in case you didn't know,
Guys don't
Scarlet Rot is essentially a powered up version of poison which does damage over time for 3 minutes. With that in mind,
And
I
it's
summoned
very
the Rot
annoying
Dog
to get
without even
through.
upgrading him just to see how he'd do. First attempt, the dog died pretty much immediately, but on the second attempt, he managed to proc Scarlet Rot. Then, I did my best to keep Nepheli alive for as long as I could. Eventually she died, of course, but it was fine. I just stood back and watched as Scarlet Rot finished the job. Godrick down. Now, I had a few
That's
choices of where to
awesome.
go next, but I decided my
Scarlet
first
Rot.
priority should
I
be
like that the
unlocking a good
bosses
spot
could
to farm
die.
runes
It's like,
so I
ha,
could reliably
now you
level up if
could feel my
necessary, since I was
suffering as
running past
well.
all the enemies and skipping most side bosses. The best place for farming was Mogwyn Palace, and you can unlock this pretty early on by following Vari's questline. He's the "You Are Maidenless" guy with the white mask. I met him at the Rose Church, and he gave me a
So
few bloody
creepy.
fingers to invade people with. From here, I could progress by invading 3 players. Luckily, these didn't need to be successful invasions where I killed the other players. Just an attempt was enough. So I did that, he gave me a white cloth, I covered it with blood from the Church of Inhibition, gave it back to him, and boom! I was now a cult member with access to the Mogwyn Palace.
Huzzah
I then
for
rode my
being a
horse down
cult
to the
member.
southeast part of the zone. This is a somewhat infamous farming spot due to how early on you can access it and how many runes you'll get from enemies here. The most common method of farming is by shooting this giant bird with an arrow and making it run off a cliff nearby. However, I wasn't going to do this since that was a violation of my character's pacifist lifestyle.
Yeah.
Instead, I chose to get on my horse, jump over this rock by the cliff, and watch the little red guys roll off to their death. Was this slower than the bird method? Yes, but it was still pretty decent, and I got 2,000 runes for each guy that fell. Back to the overworld. Next up on my list was
Thank
getting
goodness
better
for
healing
NPCs being
incantation.
idiots.
I rode up to the Altus Plateau, and this prompted Brother Corin to leave the Round Table hold. I then
Awkward,
found
they're
him on the
wearing
side
the
of the
same
road where he
thing.
sold me Great Heal, a nice little upgrade that heals about 50% more than the normal heal.
Yeah, but-
With that, I was ready for my second demigod
Oh,
boss
gosh.
fight, Radahn. The cool thing with Radahn is that you can summon a bunch of NPCs to help you. Not only that, but you can resummon them when they die. So to beat this fight without attacking, it was just a matter of staying alive and resummoning as much as I could. And while I did try that for a bit, I realized quickly that this would take a fair bit of effort, and I had a more fun idea in mind. I got Radahn to follow me all the way to the western edge of his arena. Then I jumped up the side of the cliff using my years of Skyrim expertise. It took a bit of patience, but I
Skyrim has
eventually got
trained me
Radahn to
for
follow
this.
me. And then Radahn may have mastered gravity magic, but he did not master gravity itself. Another demigod down.
That's
Before leaving, I
hilarious.
rode over to the nearby catacombs and grabbed the Radahn soldier ashes. I wanted to try them out on my next stop, Raya Lucaria. I upgraded them to +3 for the wolf boss here. And you know what? They're actually not bad. This was a good choice. They did solid damage, and I managed to keep their health mostly topped off with great heal for the entire fight. With the
Yeah,
red
I
wolf
heard that
defeated,
those are the
I could run up
upgrade
and
of
get
the
the item I
boys
came here for,
who helped
the
me.
Radahn Icon Talisman. This slightly increases the casting speed for sorceries and incantations. And if I was going to be casting healing constantly, this seemed like a necessity. And then I left Raya Lucaria because I didn't even want to attempt Renalla. Not only was she not necessary to fight at this point, but her first phase alone seemed like it would be a nightmare to deal with for someone that would
that's
run around
so
trying to target
true.
20 different enemies. Anyway, I wanted to get into Leyndell, but to do that, I needed to beat the Draconic Tree Sentinel at the entrance. Out of curiosity, I let the Radahn soldiers take a crack at it, but they got absolutely destroyed. Every hit staggered them for a few seconds, so it felt like upgrading them wasn't going to cut it here. So woof woof, it's time for the Rotten Stray again. On my level 1 playthrough, I managed to get by this part with poison, so I figured Scarlet Rot could work here too. I brought out my +3 Rot Dog to see if that'd be enough.
Go, doggy.
The dog died pretty quickly, though it managed to proc Scarlet Rot before dying, so I just ran away and waited nearby to watch it finish the job.
Oh.
Alright, close. All I had to do was keep the dog alive a bit longer so I could get some more damage off. I upgraded him to +5 and tried again. I upgraded him to +6 and tried again.
So sad. Huzzah for Rot! That's why they really should invest in some healthcare.
At this point, it seemed like the Rotten Stray might work for everything. Except, no, he wouldn't, because the next boss was the Spirit of Godfrey, and I'm no scientist, but I had a feeling poison wasn't going to work on a ghost. So I left to get a couple more options for spirit summoning in the city of Nokron. However, before I left Leyndell, I made one quick stop to pick up the Deathbed Dress. This is a chest piece that passively heals nearby allies. This effect is very minor with something like 2 HP per second, but hey, every bit helps. And as an extra bonus, check out the fashion. This sad man was rocking that dress. On to Nokron. Here I picked up the Great Shield Soldier Ashes. This is what I would use for the next fight. Before I left though, I wanted to also grab the Mimic tier since I had a feeling there was potential there too. To get to that, I needed to defeat the Mimic boss. Fun fact with this guy, you can unequip all your weapons and armor before starting the fight, and the Mimic will spawn in with nothing. After doing that, I just sat back and watched my dog kill him. No need for me to even heal, since the Mimic was only doing 1 damage per hit. After that, I ran deeper into Nokron, unlocked this fog wall with a stone sword key, and grabbed the Mimic tier ashes. Just a couple more things before I was ready for Godfrey. First, I grabbed the Two Fingers prayer book from the fortified manor in Leyndell
exactly where he's going.
Turtle Pope. With this, I learned the Lord's Heal, which is a tier 3 version of heal, and I also picked up Blessing's Boon. Blessing's Boon is an incantation that heals nearby allies for 90 seconds. I believe it's 8 HP per second, so between that and the Deathbed Dress, my summons would get 10 HP back per second before even accounting for the other healing. Lastly, I upgraded my Great Shield Soldiers to +6, and I was good to go. It was Godfrey time. These shield guys are incredible, and I highly recommend giving them a shot even for normal playthroughs. There's 5 of them, and they each hold a Great Shield that allows them to block while attacking. As long as they're facing the target correctly and not getting hit from behind, they take almost no damage. I did step in to heal every now and then, but for the most part, I just stood back and watched. Their damage output being low didn't matter because they just weren't going to die. Godfrey down. This wasn't even close. After the fight, I grabbed Blessing of the Erdtree from the Queen's Bedchamber. This functions identically to Blessing's Boon, but it's 12 HP per second instead of 8. With that, I was ready for Morgott. And in case you didn't know, you can actually summon Melina to help with this fight. She's an interesting summon. They gave her the same moveset as the Black Knife Assassins, so she'll dodge around quite a bit. She also has this big AoE healing tree move, which is incredibly helpful if it comes in at the right time. I decided to go with the Great Shield Soldiers again to fight alongside her. Things seemed to be going pretty well. Healing wasn't too much of an issue, and they were blocking everything. But then Morgott decided to do this move.
Oh no. Oof. Oof. Oh no. Oh, the boys. Oh, the poor boys.
Yeah, couldn't exactly out-heal that one. No problem though, I just used Morgott Shackle next time to cancel that move whenever he started it up. And this worked great, until phase 2. Because in phase 2, he has that same move, but Morgott Shackle no longer works. On top of that, he also has a lot more elemental attacks that the Great Shield guys weren't too good at blocking. So, alright, seemed like the Great Shield soldiers weren't going to work for this one. Who could I count on? Who had always been there for me? That's right, it's Rot Dog time again. My first attempt went pretty well. The dog managed to stay alive until the beginning of phase 2. I tried to keep Melina alive too, but she got focused down pretty hard soon after. Then it was just me, Morgott, and the Scarlet Rot slowly killing him. Maybe if I just, hid here, I could do this. Oh shit. Yeah, unfortunately my dodging skills were knocked apart and I died. Though it's very possible Scarlet Rot would have run out anyway. On the next attempt, it was going about the same, but then Melina came in with clutch timing on her healing tree right at the start of phase 2, which went a long way in keeping her and the dog alive. From there, I just kept frantically healing as much as I could, and I got him, with both Melina and the dog surviving to the end. Next, it was onto the mountaintops of the giants. The next major boss was the Fire Giant. This guy has something crazy like 25,000 health, but I wasn't worried. Turns out you can actually just get him to die from fall damage if he follows you up on this cliff here. So he'll walk off and take no damage. Uh-oh. So now's a good time to mention that this was all recorded on patch 1.03, and I believe one of the changes they made was fixing the bug where he could fall to his death. This was pretty bad, however I wasn't about to give up. I had options. Option 1 was to summon Alexander to help with the fight. Unfortunately, doing this disabled my horse, so that seemed like a terrible choice. Option 2 was to ignore Alexander and just use my summons to fight the giant straight up, but that massive health bar made this also feel impossible. Option 3 is a bit crazier. I could escape the boss arena on horseback with some precise jumping. There's a fog wall that's supposed to prevent this, but they didn't quite make it wide enough. From there, I could ride alongside the edge to this point right here. For some reason, I could summon spirits in this one small spot. Picture it like a tiny semicircle. What's also strange is that elevation was a factor for remaining in the summoning zone. If I got off my horse, I could no longer summon anything. And one more complication, some of the giant's attacks could still reach me, so I'd have to use my dismount iframes to avoid it, but then get back on my horse to remain in the summon zone. So here's the plan. I would summon a spirit with a ranged attack to shoot at the giant while I stood next to it and healed. To check if this was even possible and that the summons would target the boss correctly, I summoned the jellyfish, and luckily, yes, this might work. Before attempting this properly, I made a quick detour to the Ancestor Spirit in Siofra River so I could unlock the Ancestral Follower as a summon. It seemed like a decent option for a ranged summon. I upgraded him and brought him back for the fight. This kind of worked. The damage was low, but consistent. Keeping him alive wasn't an issue at first either because attacks that reached him were infrequent enough for me to heal. However, he got pushed back a little farther each time, and he made no effort to reposition to get back to me. Eventually, he was all the way behind a rock, and I couldn't get to him without leaving the summoning zone. To make matters worse, at around 25% health gone, the fire giant adds fire moves to his moveset, and this was a lot to juggle all at once. I kept trying though. This time I summoned the jellyfish, and you know what? I'll use her name. Her name's Aurelia, as per the item description. Aurelia could poison the giant with the added bonus of floating back toward me whenever she got pushed back. I also decided to bring the Flame Protect Me incantation to reduce fire damage by 60% for the later parts of the fight. This whole process was very, very slow, but it was kind of working. Until, of course, Aurelia decided to hang out a little too close to the edge. Are you fucking kidding me?
No!
Alright, it happens. Maybe it was just a fluke. Aurelia, I swear to God. I swear to God. Oh my God.
Oh
I'm
no.
gonna cry. Yeah, after the third time this happened, I decided to pack it in. And what was even more demoralizing was the knowledge that even if I did manage to get to phase 2, I'm pretty sure I would get teleported back into the arena with my spirit summon who would immediately get destroyed. So that's it. I couldn't beat the fire giant, and there was no way to get to Farum Azula. Or was there? There was actually a very useful glitch I could take advantage of. And if you've seen the any % speedrun of this game, you're probably already familiar with it. The wrong warp glitch. I'll give a quick rundown, but essentially this would just let me teleport to the start of Farum Azula, where you typically go after defeating the fire giant. Step 1, rest at the 4 Belfry Site of Grace. Step 2, touch the warp point that teleports you to the side island of Farum Azula. Step 3, use the Memory of Grace item, which usually sends you back to your last Site of Grace, but very quickly open up your map to teleport to the Stormhill Shack Site of Grace before it finishes. Step 4, you should now be falling beneath the map, so quickly quit the game. Step 5, reload your game and you should now be at the start of Farum Azula. I managed to get this on my first try, so I'm not exactly sure how strict the timing is, but if you fail, you can just retry until you get it. So yeah, I made it, and my reward for doing this was getting to fight the Godskin Duo. Oh boy. Fortunately, I could summon Renalla to help with this fight. I attempted this fight a couple times with the Great Shield Soldiers and the Rotten Stray, but I soon realized I needed something better. Among other things, the black flame attacks of the Godskin Duo were just melting my summons and Renalla. I decided to get a stronger summon and upgrade to +10. So first up on my to-do list was to get more endgame upgrade materials for my spirits, and one source of those was the Consecrated Snowfield. Normally you have to collect 2 halves of a medallion and defeat a pretty tough boss to get there, but there's actually an easy way to skip this. If you come up here on the mountaintops of the giants and jump off this part of the cliff, you'll fall all the way down into the Consecrated Snowfield. Naturally, you'll die, but you'll have the option of respawning at a nearby Stake of Mirka. Then boom, you're in. After collecting some glovewort for upgrading my spirits, I decided that my spirit of choice would be Black Knife Teach.
I never would think
She's
of
pretty
any of
consistently
this.
considered one of the best summons in the game, and I figured now was the time to use her. Only problem was that to reach the area where I could get her, I needed to complete Ronnie's questline. This was going smoothly enough at first until I reached Red Phantom Blaidd. It was necessary that he dies because this is what would trigger Ronnie giving me a key that I need to progress. However, I couldn't summon spirits in this.
We have to pause. Bad memories. I really liked her questline, but I also hated it because poor Blaidd. I liked him so much. Alright, can we continue? Okay, we will continue.
This area. My first idea was to use Bewitching Branches on the basilisks before the Blaidd encounter. Using these on enemies causes them to become your ally for 3 minutes.
So badly,
it does do a single point of damage, so this wasn't allowed. My second idea was maybe I could just get him to walk off a ledge. There was an elevator nearby, and I figured I could lure him into falling down the hole. This did not work either though, as the game would not allow him to fall down on his own. There was still hope though. Rejection. This is an incantation that pushes enemies back. That's a good question, N64 Donkey Kong, but it actually doesn't because the threshold for what isn't allowed is anything that deals direct damage, and rejection causes no damage. So I didn't kill Blaidd, gravity did. With that done, the next roadblock was Astel.
Says beautifully
I expected this to be a fight that would take me a while. However, it wasn't too bad with the ancestral follower. He was able to land headshots pretty consistently for extra damage, so it only took a couple tries. This is also where I started using the Golden Vow incantation to give
I just
my
happened to
summons
make a
extra
loud
damage
noise
and
that
defense.
pushed
And
you
one more
too
thing,
well.
I used the Shabriri's Woe talisman to help keep aggro on myself while my summon was getting shots off. I'm not sure if this really helped much due to the way boss aggro works, but I wanted to mention it. Basically, bosses will usually target whoever is damaging them, so if I'm standing around doing no damage, Shabriri's Woe probably isn't doing much. But yeah, Astel was down, and I can make my way up to...
That was such a cool boss.
Oh yeah, I need to get the key from Ray Lucaria Grand Library. I'll just fast travel there real quick, and... Right, I never killed Renalla.
No, you didn't.
Alright, fuck it. It's Renalla time.
Oh,
I chose
no.
Leyndell the Headless to help with this fight since she's just a good all-around summon. Solid damage, health, and she blocks. Like I mentioned earlier, the reason I didn't want to do this fight was because my summons wouldn't target the correct enemy. Good news though, I learned that I could destroy the golden barriers on the girls crawling around with rejection. Doing this 3 times causes Renalla to fall to the ground for a few seconds. But... it's the same issue. My summon usually wouldn't target her because of the other enemies crawling around. After about 10 minutes of almost no progress, I realized that I needed a better plan. Though I gotta hand to Leyndell for her comedic timing. Nice. Nice. Why did you turn away? Go back.
Oh
my god. Now I know some of you are already frothing at the mouth. This is my chance. I get to correct a YouTube guy in the comments by telling him that he forgot something. He should have just used the cursed blood pot. But see, I'm actually going to correct your correction preemptively.
Oh.
So yes, there's a consumable cursed blood pot item. If you throw it at an enemy, your spirit summons will automatically target that enemy and ignore others. Sounds perfect, right? Well, take a look at this footage.
Did damage.
Did you see it? 1 damage. 1 damage. That's 1 damage too much. So no, I wasn't going to use it.
1 damage.
So quick correction, this is me from the future now. I found out that you can actually throw the pot at the ground next to an enemy and they'll still get the debuff without taking damage from the pot itself. So while I did not end up using this method, I technically could have. It's kind of inconsistent though, and if the enemy or boss is moving, you're probably going to hit them. But for a boss that's not moving, like Renalla when she's just sitting on the ground, this actually would have worked.
Oh no.
Instead, I thought about solving the Renalla problem in terms of probability. The issue was that my summon could be targeting one of 20 different enemies at once. Those are pretty bad odds when I needed them to target the right one. My solution was to choose a spirit summon that gave me multiple allies. I decided to go with the demi-humans because there were 5 of them, and I assumed they'd do more damage than the Great Shield soldiers. Took a lot of patience on my part, but this eventually did the trick for Phase 1. My logic of having multiple allies was correct. Phase 2 was also basically a non-issue because of how much pressure the demi-humans were able to keep on Renalla. I just kept healing until we won. With Renalla defeated, I unlocked the chest, grabbed the ring, and went back to where I defeated Astel so I could continue. And then, finally, I made it. The only thing standing between me and getting Black Knife Tish was defeating the ringleader boss in this Everjail. And I can't summon spirits in here. Cool. So yes, after all that work, I failed to realize that you can't summon spirits for Everjail boss fights.
No.
Genuinely funny to crush my hopes at the last minute after all the hoops I had to jump through. I mean that. In my defense, I barely used summons on my first playthrough, so I never picked up on this. But wait, there's a ledge in this boss room. Maybe I could push him off with rejection. Nope, the game wouldn't allow it this time. And there you have it. I was back at square one for needing to defeat the Godskin Duo. Awesome. I decided to just jump in and go for it with Leyndell. Like I mentioned earlier, she's very good at staying alive while still pulling her weight. Both her and Renalla were pretty tanky, but the key was keeping them alive, which was easier said than done.
Those guys
Things
are
would
so
usually
gross,
be going
by the
okay
way.
up until the
I hate
Godskin
the
Duo brought out their
Godskins.
black flame attacks.
Ugh.
These attacks did crazy damage,
so
and my
gross.
allies made no attempts to avoid them. I kept trying again and again and again for a couple hours. Sometimes I'd get close, but it seemed like there was just no way to heal enough to keep them alive. I had a few ideas, like trying to pull away the big one at the start of the fight, but that didn't work because sometimes my summons would just switch targets and come over to me. I needed something else. One idea, which I learned after my last video, was that the Godskin Duo are very susceptible to sleep. If I could just put one to sleep, I wouldn't have to worry about both bosses at once. However, this seemed like it wasn't going to be an option either. There were sleep pots and sleep arrows, but both did damage, and I was committed to not bending the rules. It looked like the end of the run. No. Not yet.
No.
I had one more idea. I ran down to the consecrated snowfield to grab the treasure out of the back of one of the carriages. Saint Trina's torch. The weapon skill on this torch allows you to blow a flame that puts enemies to sleep. And guess what? It does 0 damage.
Oh.
I was allowed to use this, so I went back to the Godskin Duo to test it out. It did a pretty good job of putting them to sleep. Now all I had to do was get lucky with the positioning of my summons so that they wouldn't attack and wake up the one that was sleeping. After a bit of patience, I managed to do exactly that. And I even had time to fully heal my summons before
his
going for the
patience
second
is
one.
amazing.
Then it was just a matter of repeating this a couple
I
more
would get
times.
so bored
healing
after a
throughout the
while
fight,
trying
and
this.
there you go. I beat the
I
Godskin
just don't have
Duo
a
without
focus
attacking. I felt really good. Malaketh was up next though.
Oh,
to get a feel for how rough this was going to be, I tried fighting him with Leyndell. Phase 1 went very smoothly, but Phase 2 was too much. Leyndell just got deleted. I needed more than good healing to win this one. So before grinding it out any further, I wanted to grab the Blasphemous Claw item. This would allow me to parry some of Malaketh's attacks during the second phase to create big openings. This item is dropped by Renalla after he invades you, but to get him to invade, I had to kill Ricard in the Volcano Manor. So that's where I went next. Gonna skip over this fight with the Godskin Noble because this is just a much easier version of the fight I just won. After that, it was time for Ricard. This is a gimmick fight where you're expected to use the weapon in the boss room, the Serpent Hunter Spear. Now, I wasn't allowed to hit him with this, but if I equipped it, my Mimic could. This is a good time to mention why I haven't used the Mimic up until now. In case you didn't know, patch 1.03 heavily nerfed the Mimic by reducing its damage. I believe it's just as tanky as it was before, but the damage nerf was substantial enough that it seemed like a weaker option than the other summons. Though, since this fight revolved around the Serpent Hunter Spear, Mimic was the way to go. Attempt 1 went pretty poorly with the Mimic just running into lava and not even getting halfway through phase 1. Luckily, I could make this way easier.
And took everything else off. My Mimic was way better at using the special weapon than I was. I felt so stupid.
It's a thing. So I upgraded it and tried again. This went much better, but it was still tough because my opportunities to heal were so limited. My Mimic spent most of its time in the lava like before, and if I attempted to get close to heal, the lava would interrupt my casting before it went off. My Mimic would need to survive mostly on its own. So I put a bunch of heavy armor on and tried one more time. This worked great. Not only did it beat Ricard, but it had plenty of health to spare. Maybe the Mimic wasn't as bad as I thought. With Ricard dead, I went back to Farum Azula to get invaded. Things seemed to be going well. I was just going to lure him up on this ladder and then knock him off. Oh. Apparently FromSoft added some very strict boundaries to prevent this exact scenario. I had to fight him on this walkway, and there was no ledge to knock him off. I tried jumping on the railings, but he would never follow. There was no way to knock him off. I gave this a real effort, though it seemed like I had to accept that this just wasn't going to work. I had to fight Malaketh with just a summon and nothing else. I tried again with Leyndell, but this was as close as I could get with what felt like near perfect playing on my part. That's when I remembered how the Mimic surprised me with Ricard. Maybe the Mimic would work. Its raw damage had been nerfed, yes, but the damage from status effects was unchanged. For example, Blaidd. I can make a Blaidd build for my Mimic, wear the heaviest armor, and maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. So I teleported back over to Mogwood Palace to get grinding.
12 hours later.
After many hours, I had done it. Here's the final build. Dual katanas each upgraded to plus 25 with the Blaidd infusion. The katana in the main hand had the Bloodhound step because I thought that might help survivability. My relevant stats were 60 vigor, 40 dexterity, and 40 arcane. And in case you didn't know, Blaidd scales with arcane, so that's why I leveled it. Lastly, here were the talismans I used.
I knew that.
Basically, anything that would make my Mimic more tanky. If you're curious how I got this one, here you go.
Huzzah!
So yeah, I was ready for Malaketh. Let's see how that went.
Rip.
Was it time to quit?
No.
Is this the best I could do?
No.
Hell no. I ran it back, I learned, I was patient, and I found openings where I could heal. And then I did it. Blaidd is just that strong and the Mimic is just that tanky. Somehow, this actually worked.
That's
I almost couldn't believe it.
amazing.
Up next was the City of Ash. Sir Gideon the All-Knowing? More like Sir Gideon the Dead Guy. Got him. I just summoned my Mimic and spam rejection. This was very easy, and I had fun sending him flying across the room. After that, I grabbed Erdtree Heal from the Queen's Bedchamber.
Can't keep up with
this
this
is the
guy.
most powerful heal in the game, and it's just stupid strong. Watch this.
Holy.
Yes, it's kind of silly to be honest. 2 bosses left now. First up was Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. This actually wasn't bad at all. I beat him first try. Like I said before, Blaidd is that strong and the Mimic is that tanky. And with Erdtree Heal, I was easily keeping the Mimic alive. I think I went overkill on the leveling. I very likely could have done this at a lower level due to how comfortably I cleared this. Only the final boss remains. Before going in, I decided to change my weapon. I'm pretty sure both Radahn and the Elden Beast are immune to bleed, but they're not immune to black flame attacks. So I switched to twin blades and
I'm
equipped
learning
the
a
Black
lot
Flame
from this
Tornado
video,
weapon
actually.
And just to make my
For
mimic
if I
extra
do my new
unkillable,
game
I got
plus
the Lord's Divine
run.
Fortification, an incantation from the Round Table Hold which reduces holy damage by 60%, which is the main source of damage for both of the final bosses. It was time.
Look at that sexy body. Dancing. It's not the most flattering armor for the mimic. Go, mimic, go.
So yeah, I got this on my second try. I really can't overstate how powerful Erdtree Heal was for keeping my mimic alive. And there you have it. Elden Ring can be beaten without attacking a single enemy and without dealing a single point of direct damage. I truly didn't expect to beat the run when I started.
Just gotta do some of the hacks.
I just thought it'd be fun to show you all how far I made it. I love how FromSoft throws all these tools in their games for ridiculous runs like this to be possible. And just because it was bothering me, I went back to kill the fire giant, so yes, even he's beatable with the setup. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.
I take it back
for more
then.
FromSoft shenanigans, and have a good one.
Look at his face. He's so sad. I love how he looks. So that's really fun. So just remember, if Elden Ring ever feels too easy for you, then clearly you just gotta do fun ideas like this. Do a pacifist route where you never ever hurt anybody. So therefore, you're very peaceful, you know? You're only standing off on the sidelines, summoning some friends and being like, get him! You got this! Let's go! Come on, you can do it! Yeah, murder them! Oh yeah, stab them, and then you're healing them the entire time. The poor boss is like, you know you're not a pacifist, right? Like, you're enabling and buffing and helping this person do damage. It's still doing damage. You're like, no, I don't have hands. I haven't touched you. So it's all this summon. This summon's kicking your butt. I love it. I love things like this. It's so great. Thank you so much for watching this video with me. It was fun to watch someone do such a fun idea. I know it's not super original, but I feel like in Elden Ring it really is. Because, gosh, can you imagine just like 12 hours to grind because you can't, and you have to like trick them off the edge because you can't directly damage them? I would have stopped after an hour. It would have driven me crazy. I don't have the patience for that sort of thing. So it always seems pretty nifty to me. I watched another video of the speed run. Oh my gosh. Person did a level 1 no death speed run where they got all the remembrances and it took them like just a little over 2 hours. Isn't that crazy? Holy crap. That's not my jam. I like playing for story and exploration, but the people who do these things, these speed runs and trying new ways to beat the game, they have so much respect from me. Oh my goodness. It's so much fun to watch their videos and to get a little taste of how people have such a cool disciplined mentality to try those tricks, you know? Well, I plan on doing another reaction video, at least one more. We might be doing a funny reaction video. That one was more for indulging because I like Elden Ring stuff. So the next one will be watching, together we'll watch something funny perhaps. I'll keep an eye out. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember that you're amazing. And even if you're starting to feel down, just know that you've got this. I believe in you. You've got people who believe in you. And I hope to see you either on one of my streams when I come back from vacation, or perhaps on one of my next videos, huh? Alright. I can't wait to go splash with you again. Goodbye.